So what about we put this this limit value somewhere here and maybe calculate what's the difference, minimum, maximum difference. That could be pretty interesting. So let's go to, and by the way, what's the BAP limit? Just out of curiosity. Let's go back and look at BAP 1. Okay, this is why it's so small. This is why we're looking at very small numbers here. Okay, anyway, so what we can do now, we can go to views and go to get requests. Oh, this is something that we don't need anymore. So we are looking at the get method, and we were putting the where is it, table data. We were collecting that data in here. So let's tweak it a little bit. So it gives us the information that we need for populating the table with additional information about the maximum. So I'm thinking we have average here. I want to collect for each country what's the maximum level, minimum level, and what's the difference between, or maybe without the difference. You can say, oh well, you can use it for sorting. So that would be interesting. So what we can do is we can I suppose no, because you can still change you can sort by average pollution and minimum maximum. So I'm thinking only the limit. At the end we can put the limit, so then you can see, okay, we have this pollutant and this country, that's the average, that's the minimum, that's the maximum, and that's what it should be, or shouldn't be more than that. That could be interesting. That's way more information. Alrighty, so we are in air pollution app, views, air pollution function, okay, and we're looking at the get request method, where we are aggregating our data for the table. For now, all we are getting for the table is really the total for each country. And we want to add to it by grabbing not only the sum, but obviously dividing that by count, but also we need the minimum, maximum, and we're going to grab the limit from the pollutants. And we will have to change this a little bit because we don't need the name only, we need the name and the limit. So we're going to do some changes here. But the first things first, let's import the max and min from the models. So these are exactly the same kind of aggregations that we used before. That's the sum that we used before. So max and min do exactly the same. They go through the filter and they check what's the maximum or minimum value in that filter, depending on, so we're looking for the pollutant level. What's the, in this case, we're summing all the pollutant levels using this filter. What we need to do is do exactly the same for min and max. So I'm looking at this, that is a waste of space. We actually can do it a little bit drier. So instead of having another line that does this, we can just put that in here. So because this whole thing is gonna give us a dictionary where we have a key total that we put in here. So we said, okay, call it total in our dictionary and then give us the value. So we want to just get the value using the simple dictionary kind of notation. So let's delete this. That's not necessary anymore. And now I can just copy this and change it a little bit so that we have, okay, so we can, instead of total, I'm going to call it minimum, and minimum and not min, because there's something called min in Python. I don't want to shadow it. Shadowing means creating a variable that is exactly the same as something that already exists. So minimum, and I'm going to just change this to, let's say, min. That's fine, because that's going to be just the key. And then this will be changed to min. And the rest is the same. I want to check the minimum for the pollutant level. And this is exactly the same filter. So this needs to be changed to min because it has to match this. Okay, and in here, maximum. Again, there is something called max. So I want to call it something else. And then change this to max and this to max, and that's done. Maximum, max, sorry. So this needs to be max as well. Okay, now it's done. Let's go Option Command L just to straighten that up. Did you work? Okay, yeah. So it has to be aligned in here. Count, it seems to be fine. And now instead of just putting this average here that we did before, that we nicely just put that value in here, we have to redo it a little bit. But the first thing I need to do is change this pollutant list. Before we were happy with just taking the name and having a list of all the names. Now we're looking for more information. Now we're looking for the limit as well. So we actually need to grab the whole pollutant, but then whenever we're using it, and this is the use, whatever and I'm gonna just use Command F for highlighting all the pollutant. And let's change the match Oh, okay. Match case. Oh, different. Something changed here. It wasn't like this. Anyway, different layout, different UI. Anyway, so we it's if you're looking, because we have the capital pollutant here appearing quite a lot, so I'm not looking for these. So match case is a good idea for this. And now, so before that was a string, right? Because we were just taking pollutant.name, and that was like a list of all the strings. And now we are grabbing all the objects. That's the pollutant object here. So instead of just putting a pollutant here as the key, that wouldn't work. It has to be a string. We need to say name. And in here, visuals, data, pollutant, that needs to be changed to name as well. And so now pollutant is an object, so we don't need to put name in here. So let's take this out and take this out and take this out. So that's done, and take this out as well. Well, pollutant, but then just delete this. And then in here, we just need to name. I'll just copy this. Copy, paste, and paste. Okay, so now I think it's working fine. So we have this pollutant object that we can use for the limit, because we store the limit for each pollutant in every pollutant object. So we need to change this from a value to another dictionary. So let's take this and put it in curly brackets, and this will be called what? Average, AVG, and that's the value, and then comma. We're looking at minimum. So sorry, so I'm going to just use single quotes. Folks at my new work are using double quotes, and I'm just getting used to it. AVG, total count. And then we're looking at minimum, which is what? Minimum. And then we have maximum, which will be maximum. And they are taken from here, obviously. These are some numbers that we grabbed from our aggregation. And then limit. Limit will be pollutant dot limit value. Okay. And we're going to just put a line break here. Seems fine. Obviously, we need to change the table itself. So let's go to welcome page of our Airpollution app. So what we want to do is, for now, we have pollutant, country, average pollution. Not much going on. We want to add minimum, maximum, and so maybe instead of pollution level, which is very long, we'll just put AVG, min, max, and limit. So we can then see all the data, and it's going to be just a little bit tidier without all this text here. So let's delete this and just leave AVG. And then with Command D, I'm going to duplicate them 3 times. That's going to be min, max, and limit. Okay. And then we might want to add as well the units. Well, if you want to add the units, obviously it wouldn't be too hard. You just add another field here with the units, but I'm not going to do that because life's too short. It doesn't really matter, or does it? Well, I'm gonna I broke. I'm gonna just add units. And where can we get the units from? It wouldn't be in pollutant. It will be in entries. So I suppose we would have to go and get like one. How to approach it? I suppose you can go and do something like this. Units is pollutant entry dot objects dot filter, and I'm gonna go and take all of these and okay, and then go first. So give me the first entry and then give me the units. I think that was the units. Let's go to pollutant entry and the units. Yeah, so I'm looking for units. And where is the air? Okay, I have to put it in here. Okay, and now we have all the data. And so I'm gonna add it to the HTML. Okay, so I'm gonna get Command D and units. Okay, and now, okay, so this is different now. We're not going through country, ESO, and then average pollution as just one number. That's now a dictionary. Okay, so I'm gonna call it, I don't know, data. Okay, because all this data from here is our dictionary that we're going to use for plugging the information into the table. So let's go back to the HTML file, and instead of average pollution, that's going to be data.avg, as you might remember. And let's have a look just to make sure. AVG, min, max, limit, and units. Okay. So let's again 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I suppose, yeah, we need the float format there. Okay, so min and max, and well, that's going to be integer, so we don't need the float format. And that's going to be limit, and that's obviously a string, so we don't need this. And units goes here, Command S, and let's give it a go. So let's refresh this page, and let's hope it works. It doesn't. Okay, NoneType object has no attribute units. Let's have a look what happened there. So let's go here and let's say, well, let's stop it here. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh, and we're stopped here. Let's have a look at our code here. Okay, let's evaluate it. Evaluate. Huh, it did work. That is weird. Okay, so let's skip this. Skip again, skip again, skip again, skip again. Seems to be working for a while, but probably breaks at some point. That's gonna be okay. That's gonna be a long wait. So let's allow it to just go and break, because it will, and it's gonna give me this error. So somewhere there is, it's looking at this code here, and I'm grabbing the first element, and it's none. So I'm gonna take this away from here for now and do something like this. If units, then units equals units.units. Okay, so basically I'm checking, is there first, is it an entry, or is it nothing? If it's nothing, if it's none, then do nothing. But okay, so wait a second, better option, because then we want to put it in here. So what I'm gonna do a one-liner saying this: units is units.units if units, else empty string. Okay, so what I'm saying here is, if this is none, or okay, if units not, well, if it's, I suppose, yeah, we can just stick to this. So it's checking if there is something in units, if this pollutant here exists. Sorry, if all right. Yeah, well, okay, let's call it units because we gather it for units. So I'm just grabbing this one pollutant. So let's maybe call it units, pollutant for units, okay? For units, okay? Pollutant entry for units. That's, see, I'm losing space. You know what I'm doing, but it's not very good. The description of it is not very good, but let's stick to this. So we are grabbing this just for units, and then we're checking, okay, if it exists, then take the units from this object. Otherwise, just make it an empty string, and we'll see how it looks on our table. Okay, so let's save this. Let's make sure it's refreshing. It is. So let's go back in here and refresh our web page, and it seems to be working and still thinking. So we're in the good position. Okay, so let's have a look. Is there, okay, count. Units is count. That is interesting. How is this count? And why is SO2 called count? Okay, guys, that's gonna bug me too much. So I'm gonna check what happened there, and I actually did. So I'm just explaining what happened. Why is that count in there, and how did I get there? So what you can do, which is pretty cool thing, by the way, you can go to your Python console, which is actually a Django console, and do something like this: from Airpollution.models import pollutant entry. That worked? Yeah, okay. And now I want to get something like, okay, tell me if you find something like this: pollutant entry dot objects dot filter, and units is count, and give me the count of it. Ooh, name pollutant entry. Entry, okay, and it gives me 1600 entries nearly. So there is a problem. Let's give it another go, but instead I'm gonna do first. So I'm gonna get one of them and just say pollutant is this, and in here we can actually check this pollutant. And let's scroll down, you go away. And yeah, units is count. Like, what the hell? Year 2016, SO2. Okay, let's give it a go. Let's see SO2. So let's go to 2016. That's 15. Let's go to 16. That's 16 here. SO2. And there you go. Count. So there is one stupid sheet in our data, which is, you know, I kind of assumed. I went through it and I was like, yeah, no, they seem to be consistent. I can see that that the units are there. When I was looking at SO2, it didn't really see that it's count in here, so I just missed it. Data is wrong. We can do two things. We can change the data so I can see that the units are milligram per cubic meter in here, and we can just copy and paste it here. But let's assume we have no way of changing the data. Somebody is using our code and our program, and we know they have buggy data, and they're like, could you just make sure that if it says count, then just make it milligram per, because it's only happens here, okay? And I'm being lazy. Obviously, you can extract it from here, but I'm being lazy now. I'm just gonna go and hard code milligram or microgram per cubic meter in here. So let's go to, how do we get the units? Control F, units, and I think it was somewhere in post, obviously. And we get the units from the helper get headers and units. So I'm going to hold command and click on this function here. And let's scroll down again, Control F, units, just for quicker. Okay, and I can see it here. So we want to keep this, but what I'm going to do at the very end is just make sure units is units if units is not, so doesn't equal, doesn't equal to count, but else make it our microgram per cubic meter. Okay, I don't want to see count in my data. I know it happens sometimes, and I know it's supposed to be micrograms per cubic meter instead. So I'm going to just put that code here, and well, make sure it's refreshed. Let's refresh it. Stop and rerun. Okay, let's see if it works. Let's just refresh and see if we still have, because we should still have the count in there. Okay, the count is still there, no bugs, because I could see some errors here, so that's why. And now what I'm gonna do is re-upload 2016, because I think that's the only place where we have that problem. And upload, let's give it a second. Okay, there's something going on here. I need to make sure that this doesn't do what it does now. So I suppose it's because I'm not giving it any data. That's why no data available in table is showed, because I'm redirecting from this post. I suppose, well, c'est la vie. We can fix that in the future, and especially because we're going to use Ajax. Look at this beautiful face. We're going to use Ajax calls, so that's going to be fixed in the near future. And let's have a look. No, no count. It's microgram or nanograms. So great, that's fixed. I'm sorry, it makes the video even longer, but I thought that would bug me too much, and at least now it's fixed. Okay, let's continue with our tutorial. Now, let's just bask in the glory of this new table, which makes way more sense now. It tells you much more. So now let's say we want to have a look at pollutant. How is pollutant doing in all respects of all pollutants? So the average is below limit, minimum is beautiful, but maximum is above the limit. O3, again, we have average below the limit, but then minimum and the maximum is above the limit. In here, the average of PM10 is above the limit. So the average of pollutants is not following, you know, is not good enough for the EU requirements. So pollen, get a grip. And then so it says way more now. Okay, and we can also, instead of searching, we can maybe just check, okay, give me the biggest number here, and I'm looking at PM10. Give me the highest number of PM10 and what is it against the limit, and it's atrocious. And then we can see that, okay, this country is doing pretty bad. It says way more, and just remember, we spent a couple of minutes to set it up. and with the new aggregation. So wow, this is DataTables. I love you. This is great stuff. And remember, if you go to download and you choose more options here, you're gonna get them on your page. All I did was the simple buttons. So there's much more you can extract from DataTables. But anyway, I'm gonna finish here because I've been rambling for a while. We're ready to go back to our charts and do some cool stuff with charts and make them look better and work better, just like we did with the table. Okay, thank you for watching and see you later. Bye bye.